Welcome back, and we're on episode 2 of Jesus, Dead or Alive? The Missing Person. Whatever we think of these incidents, there is one fact over which there can be no argument. By Sunday morning, the body had gone. At least 5 people who visited the tomb that day, 2 other followers went on to the site after the women, confirm this. There is no record of anybody denying the fact at the time, and 2,000 years later, nobody has produced a shred of credible evidence to show that this was not the case. On the other hand, there was soon compelling reason for believing that these witnesses were telling the truth. Within a few weeks, Jesus' followers took to the streets, risking their lives by preaching that he had risen. Yet if the tomb was not empty, all the authorities had to do to prove the preachers wrong was to invite people to go there and see the body for themselves. As the German theologian Paul Altheus says, preaching the resurrection of Jesus could not have been maintained in Jerusalem for a single day, for a single hour, if the emptiness of the tomb had not been established as a fact for all concerned. The empty tomb does not prove that Jesus rose from the dead, but to believe that the disciples would risk their own lives by preaching that he was alive when his body lay a few hundred yards away is ridiculous. The empty grave is at the very least an important piece of circumstantial evidence, which not even his enemies could deny. The Bible's account is clear, but did Jesus come back to life? There are at least 2 popular approaches to the issue. Head in the sand. One approach is to ignore the question altogether. At the time of writing, Richard Dawkins, the one-time Charles Simonyi Professor of the Public Understanding of Science at Oxford University, is one of the best-known atheists in the world. In several of his earlier books, he included attacks against those who believe in God. But in The God Delusion, first published in 2006, he launched a nuclear assault on all religious faiths with one goal in mind. If this book works as I intend, religious readers who open it will be atheists when they put it down. Early on, he states, "I'm not attacking any particular version of God. I am attacking God, all gods, anything and everything supernatural," though 1 page later, he narrows his target. Quote, "Unless otherwise stated, I shall have Christianity mostly in mind," unquote. Then he gets even more specific. There is no evidence in favor of God's existence. The Bible is chaotically cobbled together anthology of disjointed documents. The only difference between the Da Vinci Code and the Gospels is that the Gospels are ancient fiction, while the Da Vinci Code is modern fiction. And the central doctrine of Christianity is barking mad, as well as viciously unpleasant. As for Jesus, he probably existed, but the idea that he came back to life after being dead and buried is absurd. This leaves no doubt where Dawkins stands, but as the resurrection of Jesus is directly related to the integrity of the New Testament, the credibility of the Bible as a whole, and even the existence of the God it reveals, we would expect Dawkins to concentrate his closest arguments on his own question. Did he himself, Jesus, come alive again 3 days after being crucified? Having pinpointed the critical issue, what amount of space does he then give to addressing it? How much time does he spend assessing the evidence? What proof does he produce to show that it never happened? One word answers all 3 questions: none. This is surely amazing. To dismiss the resurrection of Jesus as absurd is one thing, but to do so by ignoring it is even more ludicrous. The British author Andrew Wilson hits the nail on the head. In Deluded by Dawkins, he says that to make fun of some people's arguments for God, but to ignore the resurrection, and then think that by doing so one has removed the basis for belief in God, is to chase the mice out of the sitting room and announce that the sofa is free of animals while there is an elephant grinning on the sofa. Dawkins relishes attacking what Christians believe. I once heard him describe people who accept the universe's creation by God as yapping terriers of ignorance, and in the Daily Telegraph he called a biblical belief system ignominious, contemptible, and retarded. Yet although he spends nearly 400 pages in The God Delusion, on a withering attack against God and especially against the Christian faith. He barely mentions the resurrection of Jesus and never once engages with the evidence. To spend the best part of 15 pages discussing sexual ethics, admittedly an important issue, yet not take even 15 words to tackle the issue on which the whole of Christianity stands or falls, is baffling. Whatever the reason for his silence on the subject, ignoring the resurrection of Jesus is not a sensible option, and the many others who do the same are making a similar mistake.